What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how much your time is actually worth in monetary value? And I'll give you a hint. If you don't know this, you're pissing away a lot of your valuable time. Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report about time mastery that's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode number 97. In today's episode, we're going to be going over how to succeed in your war on fat loss. With this, obviously I used to compete in bodybuilding shows way back in the day. It became something I had to study obsessively, obviously, to have any amount of success and to get to the level of definition that I had to get to when I was competing. And throughout the years, if you're in this field, if you're in the fitness industry, you probably have some kind of body image issue, right? That's part of what draws us into this field. So mine was insecurity and whatnot. So I figured, okay, I'm going to bodybuild. But then what happens is you start to really struggle even more with your body image because you have this idea in your head of what you should look like. And it's not realistic for most people to look like that all the time. So the reason I'm telling you that is I'm always cautious when I approach a body composition goal now because I know how quickly I can go over the edge and become obsessive with it and go down a path that I don't want to go down. So that's part of just being self-aware. When I did my first show in 2004, my first bodybuilding show, I dieted at 1,600 calories a day, which is not a lot of food for somebody that was my size. At the time, I was probably 220 pounds when I started my bodybuilding preparation diet. But 1,600 calories for 16 weeks with zero cheat meals. That is insanity. That really pushed me to the limits. And I got lean, did really well on the show. But from that point forward, I started approaching dieting from the wrong way. I just went balls to the wall as hard as I could. And of course, you're going to lose fat, but you're going to have a huge rebound. So the way the body works is you're going to have a pendulum. If you go all the way over here, it's going to swing back all the way the other way with just as much force. So if you force your body, like most people when they start out in a fat loss journey, they're going to lose quickly, but then they're going to rebound. They're going to wind up fatter than what they began at. There's plenty of research, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, that dieting does not work. The biggest predictor of future weight gain is your past behavior with dieting. If you've dieted and gone to severe calorie restrictions, you're going to gain weight. The body has a set point. Most people don't notice. Your set point is the window which your body is comfortable as far as body weight and body fat. And it's pretty tightly controlled. You're not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lolo Jones if that's not what you're meant to look like. And you have to understand this. You have to maximize what you have. When I went to set this next 90-day goal for myself, it was to go from 14% body fat to 10%. Not too extreme, nothing too crazy, but it gave me something to focus on. And I'm going to go over the things that are going to help me along this process, but will also hopefully help you. The first thing you have to do, don't go from 0 to 100. I've made that mistake many times. If you add in multiple factors right away, you're not going to know what's working. It's the minimum effective dose. That's what you want to apply to achieve anything in life. What's the minimum you have to do to get the desired result? With fat loss, most people start throwing in all this junk cardio. They start throwing in severe restrictions, no carbs. And anytime somebody tells me they're doing no carbs, I shake my head because it's not sustainable. So you have to look at habit formation. Your brain is not going to form a habit around anything that it doesn't find pleasurable. That's why diets typically do not work. They involve way too much willpower. Willpower is based in the frontal part of your brain. It's the human part of your brain. It runs off of glucose, that part of your brain. Once that's burned up, by the end of the day, willpower's shot. So anything that's based in willpower, you're not going to form a habit around. Willpower is doing crap you don't want to do. The very first thing I do is I bring my attention to the process, which is good for me because then I start studying fat loss again. I go through my old books. I start really looking into everything and relearning it, so to say, right? And it's good to freshen up on this stuff. It's how you can become an expert in any field. And I was thinking about it the other day when I was driving around. The way I got to know so much about nutrition, I've had coaches, I've gotten certifications, but it started way back when I started bodybuilding. I have the old notebooks back there in the shed where I would write down every single piece of food that I ate. I would weigh it, and I would write the nutrients in it, and I had the nutrition almanac, and it was so insanely detailed. And I didn't do this on a computer. I did it all in a notebook. And I got to know how foods affected me, what was in each food, how many calories were in it, all these types of things, right? So I got to know it because I immersed myself in it. It wasn't necessarily reading a textbook or anything like that. So you bring your attention to the process. So that could be looking at pictures that inspire you as far as physiques that you admire. But bring your attention to the process. For me, that's studying fat loss and really start studying training again. The second thing, like what I'll do this week, is I'll go and I'll start tracking everything. And I'll do that with MyFitnessPal. Real simple. I put the foods in that I eat, and just the only way you can improve anything in life is if you measure it. That is the only way you can improve anything in life. Think of business, think of finances, food, all this stuff. And I'll add, that's why a lot of relationships don't work, because people don't have a way of measuring, am I hitting a certain amount of dates with my wife this month? Am I having a certain amount of dates with my son or my daughter? You need to measure anything to improve it. So bring your attention to it. I'm using MyFitnessPal. I upped my workouts this week. So normally I've been hitting 3 pretty hard training sessions a week. I went back to some old school bodybuilding, high volume. I'm going to hit 4 times this week. So I'm not doing anything crazy with my training. I go to jiu-jitsu twice. So I'll measure and track. I'm going to focus on my sleep. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how much your time is actually worth in monetary value? And I'll give you a hint. If you don't know this, you're pissing away a lot of your valuable time. Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report about time mastery that's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. Now, sleep is a big one. When I've cut my body fat in the past, I was still in that mindset of sleep less, sleep 5 hours a night, sleep 6 hours a night. And if you diet too hard, you do get wired, and it gets very hard to sleep. So every time I would get ready for a bodybuilding show, if I was able to get 4 hours a night, that was a good night. It was just because I was so wired. I was on so many stimulants and all types of stuff. But I'm really going to focus in on my sleep here. Now, let me backtrack a second. I also recently came off testosterone. So very open with that. I take testosterone. Big believer in it. But when Devin wants to get pregnant, I come off, let my body kind of reset, because testosterone is a male birth control. And the reason I'm telling you I came off of that is it's easy to have a dip in your mentality when you come off something that makes you feel better. So it's easy when you have that dip to step back from your training and lose focus. So I said, let me set a goal going right into that. Instead of avoiding it, let me go right into that. And I used to compete as a natural bodybuilder, which means no testosterone. And that got me excited. And the sleep made me think of that, because all the years I competed, all the years I was doing all these crazy diets and all this, I would never sleep adequately. So the sleep's going to be important for my energy levels, make sure I'm recovering, make sure the fat loss happens. A lot of fat loss happens when you sleep. Sleep is the greatest diet in the world, and most people don't know that. All your hormones are reset when you sleep. Hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, and some of the stuff that's in cannabis are activated when we sleep, or get a lack of sleep, I should say. So if you're already dieting and you're not sleeping, you are going to have a hell of a time trying to stick to controlled calories. Now, let me talk about, too, how I'll set my calories, whereas in the past, I'll go crazy with it, right? Like I said, I'll diet really hard because I want to get there fast. Well, fat loss is a process. I'm not doing it this time to get to a certain thing and revert back. I'm going to do this nice and slow throughout the summer and then maintain. So if you take your body weight, there's all types of fancy equations you can use to figure out your basal metabolic rate. So your basal metabolic rate, what that is how many calories you would burn if you were to lay in bed all day. So that's part of your metabolism. It's the bulk of your metabolism. About 60 to 70% of your metabolism is based in basal metabolic rate. Now, rather than doing all these fancy equations, take your body weight times 10. That's basically going to be your basal metabolic rate. So for me, it's around 2,400 calories. And that's right about what the in-body measuring system says where it's at as well. So it's very accurate. Take your body weight times 10. I'll start my calories once I really start dialing it up later in the week around that, meaning not dialing it up. That's the wrong verbiage. But when I really start controlling them, and just by tracking, I'll start controlling them. So I'm bringing attention to the process. That's what most people miss. So if you're eating at basal metabolic rate, that's a good deficit to be in. Most people are eating 14, 15, 1,600 calories a day, way too low. Now, what happens when you eat too low, too few calories? Your body gets very efficient at running off the fewer amount of calories. So if it gets more efficient at running off fewer calories, first of all, certain systems in your body are going to be diminished, your immune system, your reproductive system, all that. So you'll notice if you ever diet really hard, your sex drive is going to plummet. That's your reproductive system. The energy has to be used for survival first and foremost. So your body will view things as, okay, reproduction, immunity, all these things as secondary to making sure your heart and your organs are still working. Hopefully that makes sense. If you get very efficient off running off fewer calories, what happens when you go to eat a normal amount of food? Which you will if you're eating an extreme deficit of calories, because your willpower is going to burn up. The pendulum's going to swing back the other way. Now, let's say in my case, my basal metabolic rate is 2,400 calories. And I'm eating 1,600 calories a day. I could do that for a couple months of extreme willpower, right? No good. I'm going to go back to eating 2,400 or higher because now I've messed up all the hormones as far as hunger and fullness are concerned. My body's efficient at running off 1,600 calories a day. And now all of a sudden, I'm eating 24 to 3,000 calories a day or more. That's all going to get stored as fat. So you can program your body by dieting too hard to store more body fat. And I did that for years with the bodybuilding shows. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Obviously, I've put on muscle throughout that period of time. But as I said, when I got ready for my first bodybuilding show, I was anywhere between 210 and 220. Now my normal weight's between 240 and 250. So I programmed my body over the years just to hold more fat. And set a realistic goal. This is one of the last things I'll go over today with the fat loss. Next week, I'm going to go over supplements and fat loss protocols as far as conditioning things that you can do. Set a realistic goal. I'm not saying, in my case, I'm going from 14 to 4%. There's no reason in the world at this point in my life to try to get that low of body fat. But 10%, okay, that's a good chunk. Now, how do you break that up? Am I going to get there in a week? No, there's not the point. So in my head, it's okay, let's see what I can do to get down to 13.5%. Let me get to 13.5%, and then from there, I'll go to 13% with the minimum effective dose. What's the least amount of changes that I can make where I can still enjoy my life and begin to cut down? Hopefully that helps you with fat loss. It's just a look into the psyche, I would say, from my point of view of fat loss, and this is something I've been doing for more than half my life, helping people do it and doing it myself. I do think that people should aim for fat loss as a goal once a year because it just raises your game up in all levels of life. You become more focused. And you're on a mission. You set a goal and you're going to achieve it. And that carries over. Just like when I did my workout this morning, my legs were already cramping. As I said, I went back to some old school bodybuilding stuff. And I'm saying, man, I actually love this though, because I know I'm not going to be able to walk right the rest of the week probably because it's been a long time since I've trained like that. But in my head, I'm saying, okay, I'm doing something very hard this morning that's going to carry over. Now the rest of my day is going to seem like a cakewalk. And it gives me the edge on most people that I come across because I know I've already done something physically harder than they're going to do the rest of the day. So all these mental games, right? Anyhow, that's it for episode number 97. Thanks for everybody on Facebook for tuning in. I'll start doing it here on my regular page. I do this weekly on Mondays with the podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, you can do so on iTunes. It's Unlocking Your Inner Strength, or you can search my name. And please leave a review if you have subscribed. That helps me out a lot. And that's all I got for today. What's up, Ray? All right, I'm going to sign off.
You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.